electric chair. 2D. Welcome once again to the Electric Chair 2D. My name is Midnight Corey. Thank you for watching. Had a great time with episode 1 and had a good response to it, so here you go with another episode. Thank you for watching. Couple announcements here before we get going. I'm proud to be part of the Horror Podcasting Alliance. That's at horrorpodcastingalliance.blogspot.com. The Electric Chair and the Electric Chair 2D are both going to be featured on there. So really cool. There are a lot of cool podcasts and things going on there, so check it out. Also, which is really exciting, I'm now part of spookshow.tv, so you're going to be able to see this on Spook Show. It's the online premier entertainment network. It's really, really great. I just thank everybody over there, Zach and everyone, for having me, and it's a great time. So that's the Electric Chair 2D is going to be broadcast through all those channels. It's really exciting. This week I'm going to be talking with actress Priscilla Iden. It's really exciting. You know, Priscilla's a great girl and a very talented actress, and is just a lot of fun to talk to. So you're going to see that interview here in a moment. But before we get to that, right now I'm going to do the drawing for Florida Possum's very generous Trollhunter Blu-ray giveaway. Now you'll know I took some entries for this, and Florida Possum is going to send that out to the lucky person who wins. Now, how are you going to win? Well, I just had you send in your name, say you were interested, and you were entered. So I have to draw. And you know how we're going to draw things now on the Electric Chair 2D. And we're going to use the Hat of Pain. Boom. There it is, the Hat of Pain. How about that? Now, I have all the names in this hat, and you don't want to know why it's called the Hat of Pain. Just leave it at that, believe me. So, here we go. I'm just going to draw a name out, and whoever wins is just going to, I'm going to put them right up to the camera so that, you know, it's not like I'm cheating or anything. We got, how about that? Johnny T. I don't know if you can see that very well, but Johnny T, Johnny's Called Films, man, really cool. So Florida Possum, I hope you're prepared to pay some shipping across seas, because Johnny T is in the UK. So, very cool. Congratulations, Johnny T. I did not rig this. Believe me, everybody else, you know, is in the hat here. So, you know, that's how it is. But very cool. Congratulations, man. So, send either me or Florida Possum your address. I know you're in contact with FloPo. So, yeah, awesome. Well, enough of this. Enough of the Hat of Pain. Let's get on to the show. Well, I'm really happy right now to be speaking with the very wonderful, the very charming, the very beautiful Priscilla Iden. Priscilla, thank you for joining me tonight.
Oh, thank you, Corey. I appreciate being on the show.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, just for full disclosure here to everybody watching right now, this is our second take. Of course, we had a few technical difficulties the first time around, and this is just a testament to how cool you are. You are taking yet another night out of your schedule when you should be doing like fun stuff and sitting here with me. So that's just really cool. I do appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. And I was going to cover for you and say that this is
I appreciate that. But, you know, I'm human, and so I don't, you know, it happens. But
great. Anytime. Happy to be here.
Oh, so it's you know, been a while since we talked. And you had some different projects going on as far as, you know, of course, Bad Kids Go to Hell, which I'm still really excited to see.
Yeah, totally.
So where is that right now, as far as like distribution or anything like that?
Right. Last, I mean, they just printed a new article on it in a major magazine, and it shouldn't have slipped my mind what the name of the magazine. I mean, you can Google it; it'll show it. But it just literally came out 2 days ago that I was told, and I looked it up. I was sent a link from the producers and saw it. It was a really cool write-up. But last I heard, it was going to be released for test audiences on the 13th of this month of July. And then it should be in theaters everywhere within a couple weeks after that. So, but yeah, so that's exciting. So we're, you know, less than 2 weeks away. So we shall see. Oh,
I can't wait. I can't wait. Have you seen the full version yet, or have you yet to see it?
I've seen it once.
Oh, yeah? Oh,
yeah,
man.
Frat Party. So
cool.
it looks great. I mean, I'm not sure if you're aware, but the comic book back it's it was sold out at Comic-Con. It was the #1 comic book, and so they did the movie after the adaptation of the comic book. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Oh, I
Really
love it.
exciting to have done so well at Comic-Con, and then
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
I can't wait to watch it. So that's awesome. And what else do you got going on? I know you've had like a ton of auditions, and you've been really busy.
I have. Well, the last movie I just wrapped on is called The Bounce Back. It's a comedy, which is kind of odd for me, but it couldn't have been planned more perfectly in terms of I reside in Austin, Texas, and it was filmed partially in Austin, Texas. So I was able to film on that movie with the Cloverfield star Michael Stahl David, who's one of my. I just think he's a great actor and. He's good looking, but he's a great actor. And I was on that with him. And Cloverfield was one of my favorite movies ever. It's a great flick. And so to film with Michael was great. And we had the wrap party in Austin with all the cast and crew. So that was good. And that was about 2-3 weeks ago that we finished that. So yeah, that'll be coming out. I mean, it's now in post-production, so I can't really determine when. I mean, I would assume just based on my experience, it'll probably come out maybe I would say December or January based on finishing post-production. But that should be a really good flick, The Bounce Back. So
yeah, and that's cool. I love it that you're expanding. You're just not like, I'm only doing horror and nothing else.
That's still where my heart lies, and it always will. But as an actress, you have to be diverse and be versatile, and it's always great to change up roles and tap into different genres. So yeah, that's exciting.
No matter where you go, you're going to grow and expand, and maybe you're out of your comfort zone a little bit because you've just been doing a lot of horror stuff, and now getting into comedy. Was it weird having to do comedy, or?
No, it was just different. There's nothing. I didn't see any, corn syrup. There was no big blood. There was no.
Didn't have to really get messy, probably. In this movie.
Not at all. No, which is always good for different takes, and so that was a different experience than being drenched in blood and having a shower in between takes, and everything lasts way longer because of So, and again, it was just an honor to work with some of the people I got to work with on this film. So yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Fun. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So you talked about Cloverfield, of course, and that was a huge movie and a great movie.
Yes.
And found footage stuff, a lot of people love it or hate it, it seems. Some people, are kind of getting sick of it because there's so many out there. The Paranormal Activity 19, and just it seems
exactly
there's so many.
Right. People are getting sick of the actual way that's been. I think it all started with Blair Witch. Actually, I had a fellow horror movie person tell me that there was a movie before Blair Witch that was strictly on video cam. And they said the name. I can't remember.
Was it The Last Broadcast, by any chance?
That sounds familiar. That may have been it. It was one that I hadn't seen it. But I heard, no, Blair Witch did great. But this was actually before Blair Witch. And then Blair Witch came, and then of course Paranormal, like you said, Paranormal Activity, Cloverfield. There have been even Shudder. Shudder with Joshua Jackson, I think it was.
And like Wreck and Quarantine and those kind of.
Yeah, Quarantine. I even saw the Spanish version of Quarantine.
Wreck, yeah.
Which was called was it called Wreck? Yeah, it was Wreck. You're right. Yeah, the Spanish version. So I saw that, and I saw Quarantine Part 2, where they're on the plane.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that yet, because I'm a big fan of the original Spanish movies like Wreck and Wreck 2, and I wasn't such a big fan. I mean, Quarantine was pretty good, but I just compare it to Wreck, and I just love Wreck. So I saw Quarantine 2 come out, and I knew it had nothing to do with the original Wreck or Wreck 2. Right. And I'm like, I don't know. It's on Netflix right now, but should I give it a shot?
It's still on there? Yes, I would. I liked it better than the first Quarantine, and I'm not one for sequels.
Really?
I don't like sequels, but this one I thought that was better than Quarantine. I thought so.
Oh, I'm going to give it a shot now.
You should. That was my personal. I usually don't like sequels, except for Red Dragon, for Silence of the Lambs, which was supposed to be the prequel, but of course Ed Norton came in afterwards, and that to me was great. I loved that.
It was a good movie.
Sequel, prequel, what have you.
Yeah.
So but no, Quarantine Part 2. I saw it on Netflix myself, and I saw it twice. I liked it that much.
Oh, interesting, interesting. And then any other movies you've been going to, like horror wise? Anything?
Um,
Have you been to the theater
so
or anything
I
lately?
have. I went to the theater probably a month and a half ago to see Cabin in the Woods,
Aha.
and yeah, that was one of the most creatively written horror movies I've ever seen. You think you know what's going on, and you don't, and in so much of horror movies, but really in this one, you would have never seen it coming. I mean, anything. I'm not gonna. This is not giving anything away. I'm just saying anything with a unicorn in it, you got to see. That's all I'm gonna
I
say.
had no idea. Holy
I
cow.
know. That's all I'm saying. I'm not giving anything away. I'm not having a spoiler, but I recommend Cabin in the Woods in terms of writing. At the very least, it was amazing in terms of how they wrote this and
Yeah.
creativity. It was just yeah. There's not another movie like it. I'll say that.
Wow.
And I'm
That's
not
what
in.
I've heard.
So I'm not in. So I'm not plugging this for anything.
Hey.
Right. If the directors and producers are watching, that's what I said.
Wow. Wow. Well, I know you're a horror person. You're a big horror fan, and so would Cabin in the Woods be like a family friendly thing as far as my wife goes? Like my wife, I think I was talking with you before. She does not
Right.
like horror. She likes romantic comedies.
Right.
She likes things to be very palatable. Doesn't like to be uncomfortable. Um,
I think your wife would like this. It's nothing like Hostel or Saw. It's not like a there's torture horror. It's not a torture horror. It's more of a homage to the 1980s horror in the beginning of the flick, and then about halfway through the movie, it changes course and it's more psychological, which I like.
cool.
And you're going, oh. So in the beginning, you almost think it's cheesy because to me, it's almost a spoof. And I don't mean that literally. It's really not a spoof, but it's almost reminiscent of a 1980s horror movie.
It feels like it. Yeah.
Where it's very predictable, and you're just like, and then halfway through, it does a complete 180, and then the very last scene, or very last, third act, it's totally, again, completely turned around. So you never know what to expect. I mean, you'll see it, and your wife would see it for the first 3 minutes, going, and then you just wait, and then like, wow, that was very creative. That was
Cool.
very, it makes you think, and I like that. So that's fine.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm thinking of taking her then.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
she's not a huge horror movie fan.
No, no. There's a couple that we've walked out of there, and she's just like, "You're sleeping on the couch tonight. This was
That's
that
hilarious.
you just
Does
put
she
me through
watch
2 hours."
Does she watch your podcasts?
No, no. She's
Okay.
yeah, no. She's just not into not
She's
into
like,
this
that's your
kind of.
thing. That's your thing.
Yeah, yeah. This is I come down to my man cave. I do my podcast. And that's hey, that's
That's
all about.
great.
Yeah.
That's
But no, she keeps me grounded though. She keeps me
Yeah.
from getting too far out there into.
Well, I'm sure she keeps you versatile too. I'm sure there's some
Yeah.
some movies that she likes that you probably would never see, and then you see them.
Yeah.
You have yeah. So
Yeah,
that's a
there's been a lot of diversity there for sure.
you don't want to admit to what those titles are, do you?
I would lose so much of my cred and just
Oh,
like
no.
coolness here if I.
Do that.
Yeah, there's some bad ones. Oh, but no, we compromise. But so that's a lot of fun. I mean, it's hard to find new horror. I go to the indie realm so
Yes.
much more, and I know you operate in kind of that.
Absolutely.
That whole thing, but man, a lot of indie. Has there been any like independent stuff that has come out? Like not maybe a big Hollywood, big budget thing. Because I watch. I'm a geek for indie horror.
Right.
But
Totally.
I think we talked about Absentia. That was a low budget indie film that totally
Sure.
looks like it came out of Hollywood. They just did it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Not since. I mean, I can name previous horror movies I like that were indie that came out. I mean, and one of the ones, this was, of course, years ago, probably, I'm showing my age here, probably 8 years ago, if I want to say, but I know it sounds cheeseball, but it was Open Water. That was in a fight over
Yeah.
Sundance. That was, I mean, the director and producer, like, literally mortgaged their house, apparently, that's what I heard, to finance this movie. And then Lionsgate was in a bidding war, and it did phenomenal, and things like that show realism, I think, are amazing and they're great. In terms of present day, I was just excited that Bad Kids Go to Hell got into the Cannes Festival, which some people say Cannes,
Yeah.
whatever way you want to pronounce it. But big festival in France.
Yeah.
So that was a huge honor to get into that, because coming from an adaptation of the comic book from Comic-Con was a huge deal, for that. My last horror short, El Cucuy, we just found out got into Shriek Fest in LA, so that'll be in October. So we'll see if we win anything with Shriek Fest, which is one of the biggest horror movie conventions, in the United States, and so I'll be going to LA for that in October, so that's exciting.
That's cool. I wanted to ask you about that one too, because I've been reading about it. It's listed on your IMDb and everything, and so I'm like,
Yes.
oh, that sounds really cool.
Yes.
And so I went around, and I wasn't sure where it was, if it was available or what. And I was looking, I'm like, maybe it's up on like Vimeo or something. Maybe I can watch it. So I did a search, and there was another one called El Cucuy, and it totally. I mean, it was some amateur, making some kids making something. So I'm like, that can't be it, and so that's really cool. It got into Shriek Fest. It
did. If you didn't see me in the beginning of whatever you watched, then I'm the lead actress on that, and that's what you see first. So if it wasn't that, I hope it wasn't what you watched.
No, believe me, it was completely different. It was like kids with a camcorder. And
I don't think we're on Vimeo. We're on YouTube. The trailer's on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
And you can put that up on your site. I'm sending that to you. But
I will.
The trailer is on YouTube for El Cucuy.
Cool.
And the trailer's pretty cool. So, I'm excited that it got into, and it was in South by Southwest, which is a huge festival in Austin, Texas. Well, it's huge nationwide. Conan O'Brien was there, not at my screen, but Conan O'Brien was in Austin for that. So I mean, there was a lot of celebrities that were. I don't want to misspeak on who all was here, but there was Matthew McConaughey, I believe. A lot of people for South by Southwest. It's a huge festival in March, and my movie was in that, and that was a huge deal because I was the lead actress in that one, and to have it in that festival was so huge to be in South. So, and Austin being where I live, that was really great, and so it was a lot of
Texas
fun.
has a ton of like really, really cool festivals. You really do. Texas Frightmares. I've always wanted to get down to that.
Yeah, in Dallas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just South by Southwest is something that is so diverse. Just the different things going on. At that, I always find a lot of great music because I always have a lot of downloadable music out of it, and I find a lot of cool bands and stuff that way. Films and stuff. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, they have the music festival and the movie festival, and it's just great. I mean, and Bad Kids Go to Hell. A friend I made through there, Mark Donato, who I don't know if you remember, was in Pay It Forward with Haley Joel Osment.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, the curly guy with the So he's done very well in horror movie films lately. I mean, he's a lead actor in Bad Kids Go to Hell, and then he had another film in South by. I want to say it's called Horror High, but I could be wrong on the title. But Mark Donato is doing very well for his career as well. So. It's cool to see people like that who stay in that genre and kind of progress, and that they're kids, and you're like, wow, you're 23 now, and it's great. You were like 8 with the So, but South by was a great festival. We were very honored to get into that, and I wasn't prepared. We had the Vanguard Theater, and I was sitting in the audience with the director and producer, and then they called us on the stage to do an interview, and I was like, oh, like I didn't even hear my name. I'm sitting with everybody's on stage. I'm like, oh, like I walked down there, and I'm really not that ditzy, but funny. But it was an honor to be in that. It's an honor to be in Shriek Fest too.
Yeah, and you're surrounding yourself. It seems like a lot of really, really cool people.
Yeah, well, and Austin is a great place. I mean, Robert Rodriguez just did his casting call for Machete 2. They're doing that. So Robert Rodriguez is a huge catalyst here in Austin, Texas, and of course, Matthew McConaughey just had his wedding here. He lives here, and so it's a great place to be in Austin. There's a huge involvement with the film community, so it's a great place to live. But I'm a Texas girl, so
yeah. Now, I've seen in the past years a lot of actors, actresses. Kind of going outside of the acting thing because they have some ideas and maybe they've written some scripts, or maybe they want to try their hand at directing, or maybe doing something like that. Do you have any interests, any kind of aspirations, any maybe ideas that you scribbled down or something like someday if I get a chance I want to make this?
Right. It's funny that you should mention that, Corey, because I have 3 scripts registered with the U.S. Library of Congress and the WGA.
Oh, really?
Yes, they're from 2004 to 2006 is when I wrote them, and I've renewed them every single time. I never solicited them until 2 years ago. I solicited one to several, and Bender Spink, which is a big company, was talking about optioning one of them, and then we couldn't do it for that year because they had too many horror movies on their slate, and go figure, my 3 scripts are all horror.
Yeah.
But it was just great to have that kind of recognition from a company like Bender Spink, because they're so huge, and they've done some of the most well-renowned films, you know, but they're so versatile. They don't just do horror. They have a slate for that year, and if they've met their slate for horror, they can't.
They cut it off, and that's...
Right, but just to have been in contact and communication and to say, you know, that was a huge honor for me. And I haven't solicited the scripts in years because I've just been so focused on my acting, but they're there and they're still registered with WGA and Library of Congress, and hopefully one day one will be made. And I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about production directing. I'm mostly an actress, but I do like to write, so that is my outlet as well. I wouldn't have anything to do with production, but I just like to be in the movie.
Yeah.
I created that character, and I can play it, so that would be great.
That would be really awesome. So
yeah,
that's cool.
The I have is writing.
Yeah, so you're very creative, and so I mean, if you write, then obviously you like to read as well, because that's like the best writing school right there, is you read great.
Absolutely.
Books. So what kind of things do you like to read?
Well, obviously Stephen King is my favorite author. I have to say, because I have so many favorite Stephen King movies, but I collect first edition Stephen King books, and I have 4 of them, and they're very rare. And I admire Stephen King a lot. I love his movies, and it's interesting to see the differences between the movie and the novel itself. Like you take, for example, Pet Sematary. You know, Mr. King spends 3 chapters on the old couple across the street, where in the movie there's just Judd across the street, and it's a real quick, you know, most of it's on the Creed family. So there's some variations in it, but I like how Stephen King does a cameo in a lot of his movies when he shows up, which M. Night Shyamalan took a page from, I think. Which that was kind of cool too. So I think that's great. But I love Stephen King. I do. I've probably read every Stephen King book there is. I probably have.
Wow. So, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Stephen King, he's one of my favorites too, and I love so many of his movies.
Yes.
And definitely Pet Sematary is one of the best. It's you know what scene I think of whenever I think of Pet Sematary? It's the most painful.
Gage.
It's the scalpel into the Achilles thing.
But when I know you're talking about with the actor who played Herman Munster in The Munsters. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is painful. Yeah. Achilles tendon, and then across the mouth, and that is a very It's almost, I don't know. Hostel was almost reminiscent of that. You remember the scene in Hostel where they do that same scene? Yeah.
See, in Pet Sematary, I think it affected me more because the violence and everything is more kind of spread out, and you don't get a whole ton of it all at once where it's heaped on you. You know, you get a lot of story and a lot of character and things like that. And so whenever these things happen, it's like extra crazy, extra wow. I can't believe they did that.
Well, did you ever see the movie Sleepwalkers by Stephen King?
Yes, I did. I did.
That's another one where it's a lot of build up. You know, it's just, they're in school and then they're at the, they're doing the stone rubbings. I mean, and then all of a sudden he hits you with,
I had no idea that was.
I know.
That was going there. That was nuts.
I know. That was such I own that movie. I own every Stephen King movie there is. So.
Wow.
Yeah. And just the other day I saw Witchboard. Actually, last night I saw Witchboard. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie with Tawny Kitaen.
Oh.
Tawny Kitaen. She was in the White Snake videos. I'm showing my age again.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Witchboard scared me. It was 1988. I want to say. I'm pretty sure. And I was very young.
Oh wait, no, it is the girl. They're playing with the Ouija board, and I know. I did see that. Yeah.
Okay, I just saw that last night again. I own it, but that and you'd be surprised at how rare that DVD is to get nowadays. And I heard the same thing from a friend of mine about the movie Mouth of Madness. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Oh yeah, that's really hard to get, and I have a VHS. I just talked about it with a guy on the podcast here, and literally I have a VHS. It's like
from the movie.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's the only way I got to see it because you can't. I mean, the DVD is like ridiculously expensive.
It's going for $60 or so. I heard.
Yeah.
Like it's just crazy. But
it's a good movie too. I don't understand why it's so hard to get.
No, it's these cult classics that just and the prices go up. And it's like, wow, that's so cool. I remember seeing that as a kid.
Yeah.
So
that's
it's neat to see that appreciation.
Yeah. So other Stephen King movies that were great. We talk about The Shining. I mean, one of my favorite all-time movies.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh boy, Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall just kill it. Every actor in that movie just really owns their role and does so well. The Shining, of course, you've read the book. How do you think the book is compared to the movie? Did they do it justice, or?
Actually, I believe, and I'll probably have a lot of horror movie fans get mad at me here, and that's okay, but I believe that the movie is actually better than the book. In terms of, the book was a little long-winded for me. It was great. Don't get me wrong. Any Stephen King book is great, and I'm not impugning it. I'm just saying it was long-winded. If they really want to do an accurate depiction of it in a movie, that movie would have been like Dances of the Wolves, 4 hours long.
Oh yeah.
But the fact that they had to cut out so much, and just focus on the meat of the story, it was great for what it was, and I liked that. It was almost a Cliff Notes of the book, and I mean that in a good, positive way.
Oh yeah.
Hour and a half long movie, maybe hour and 45 minutes, however long it is. But it gets to the meat. It scares you. It frightens you. It's a psychological thrill. It's not over the top gory. It's even got some comedy in there, although sick and twisted, but comedy. Jack Nicholson is just, he's the man. I mean, Jack Nicholson is the most amazing actor of our time. I mean, I just feel one of the most. I mean, he's a living legend. And, and he depicted that role. And Shelley Duvall held her own against him, and there's so many prolific lines in that movie. You talk about you talk about, I mean, you talk about so many, Wendy, light to my life. You talk about, Johnny's here, or
here's Johnny,
here's Johnny, and of course that comes from, there's so many different lines in there that come through, and they just stick with you. It's a movie for the ages. I mean, generations below us are loving that movie. So.
Oh, that's what, I mean, it holds up today. It's like 30 years old or whatever, at least. And you can watch it today and still be scared, and still.
Yeah, huge cult following. I mean, it's right up there with Texas Chainsaw and The Exorcist and Night Living Dead. I mean, it's, and of course it was remade into a television adaptation, which I didn't, same thing with Amityville, that was remade. I don't care for the TV rendition of it, and it has nothing to do with the actors or anything. They're great, it's nothing to do with that. It's just that kind of movie, the shock value, it has to be the way it is. It cannot be made into something softer. There is nothing softer about it.
Yeah, and you're talking about, again, Jack Nicholson being, I mean, nobody can touch the guy, and if you try to step into his shoes and have the same effect that he had in the original movie, I mean, nobody delivers the lines. Nobody, I mean, only he could make that character that crazy, just the way he looks and talks. Yes. And you talk about some of the comedy in there. I mean, just the way his nuances, the way he talks and moves, and his just little facial things that he does that only he can do. You get some other actor, no matter who it is, no matter what they've done, that is a tough act to follow, and I think that was just a bad idea.
Absolutely. I believe that as well. I mean, I don't blame the networks for trying to do it. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know if you remember when they did a Friday the 13th series.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. They try to capitalize on the movies, which were a series itself, Friday the 13th part 1 through whatever it is now, maybe 11. But, they tried to do a series on that, and it's like, really? However, you take a real series, like Tales from the Dark Side, or Tales from the Crypt, which happened before they made a movie. That I can see. You make a series and then make it a movie, Okay, but you can't take a movie and make it into a series. It's not gonna.
No. No,
That's
it's actually interesting about Friday the 13th because when they made the first one originally, it was supposed to be the movies weren't supposed to be a continuing tale. They were actually supposed to be their own self-contained, different stories that really had nothing to do with the last one. Kind of like Halloween. Halloween, started out the same way. It wasn't supposed to be Michael Myers for a dozen movies.
right.
It was supposed to be just its own thing, and that's why you got Halloween Part 3, which makes no sense in the storyline of Michael Myers. It has nothing to do with Michael Myers. It has to do with a pumpkin mask, and that's it. So that's, I guess, originally how they were supposed to be movie-wise. And I think they're like, well, that was a really good idea, so let's just take that idea and put it on TV, make them just TV episodes, and it'll be really cool. And
Right. No, it didn't work out. I mean, it's kind of, and I have to say this because this is a huge homage to somebody I admire, Tom Holland, who's the director of original Fright Night and Child's Play. And I met Tom at a screening at the Alma Drafthouse in Austin for the remake of Fright Night, which he had nothing to do with, but he was the director of the original Fright Night.
Yeah.
So he was there, and I talked to his manager. So Tom and I got to converse quite a bit, and I asked him, I said, I love Child's Play, the original, and I know the sequels, I've seen them, and I noticed you didn't direct them. And he said, and I quote, "Priscilla, I did everything I did to kill that damn doll." He said, "I did not want sequels. I did not. I was just, this was my story. This was I directed this thing." And then when they came to me and they said, he said, ugh. And he said, "No, I don't, and subsequently, in my opinion, the, subsequent Child's Plays were not at all as good as the original. You could tell there were different directors. And again, not to impugn those directors. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying they had a tough act to follow. This was somebody who was passionate about not having a sequel, having one movie that would blow the socks off of everybody and say, that was great. Don't spoil it by having a sequel." And that's what happened.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm not a fan of sequels. They're okay. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're all right.
Yeah.
Like some of the Poltergeist, Poltergeist, the original, is the best, I think. Some of the other ones, some are okay, but not, and when Heather O'Rourke passed away, very tragic, young girl, she was about my age at the time when she died, that's just kind of ruined it. They should have just stopped it right there, in my opinion. But sometimes, so is Hollywood. It's like, you've got something that you can capitalize on, and, you just try to do that, and it doesn't always work. And the real horror fans are going to stick to the true, idea. You can tell when someone's passionate about their project, like Tom Holland was with the original Fright Night, with Child's Play. It's people that don't deviate from what their belief is. And I think
when it comes to the big studios, Hollywood, I think they have a formula. I think it's said that they take whatever a movie made, and the sequel, if you make it, traditionally will bring in 75% of the movie that came before it. So they'll crunch the numbers and they'll say, well, we made this horror movie and it made us, $20 million. So if we do a sequel and 75% of that, that's 15 million. Okay, we can do that. And then they keep going kind of off of that formula until they're, it's just not making them anything.
It's dry. Yeah, that sounds right. But, and then there have been, Corey, there have been some movies that I have loved and thought to myself, oh, I hope they make a sequel. And they never do.
Yes.
But
that's how it always happens.
Because if they do make one, I probably would hate it.
They might screw it up.
Yeah, even at the time I'm thinking, oh, they should make a sequel. Oh, I hope they, an example is Event Horizon. I loved that movie. I thought that Lawrence Fishburne is great. I thought that was a great movie. And it kind of at the end, it led way to a sequel. There's some movies and you're kind of like, ooh, can't wait. And no, it doesn't happen. But you know what? If it did, it probably wouldn't be as great. So I commend them for going out with integrity and their beliefs and leaving a mark, for people to talk about that. So, yeah. And now I hear there's a Hostel Part 3 on Netflix. I have yet to see it. My sister, who lives in Colorado, called me and said, oh, it's so great. So I'm like, oh, okay. I have yet to see Hostel Part 3. I will see it just because I see every horror movie that I can. Yeah. And I own Hostel 1 and 2. So it'll be interesting to see Hostel 3. All I know is it happens in Vegas. That's not a spoiler. That's all.
Oh, really? No, I haven't seen that yet either. So that's
in the States, yeah. So that'll be interesting to see. So let you know my review on that next time. But no, back to Stephen King. Yes, The Shining is probably one of the most prolific movies he's ever done. That and Pet Sematary. I mean, well, and Carrie. I don't know. I have so many. I can't.
Yeah.
But
they're making another Carrie, remaking it again. Did you hear
I
about
did
that?
that. Yeah, I heard they're looking for the actress. I heard Lindsay Lohan's in the mix for different.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could not see her as Carrie with the hair color that she has, the red hair.
Yeah, she could probably pull it off, if she holds herself together personally to be able to, finish with the shoot and, not fall apart and
right. There's been so
that poor girl is just
oh
has so many issues.
I've never met the girl. I know. I've just seen what I've read in the tabloids, and the only thing I feel bad for stuff she's going through that's self-destructive, but at the same time, no one knows, including myself. I don't know what it's like to be that famous as a child. When she did Parent Trap, and as a little girl, to be raised in that kind of. So, who are we to judge? I don't know.
And you can't believe everything you read. I mean, like you said, you see tabloids, you see a lot of stories on the internet and pictures. Of course, they take the least flattering pictures they possibly can and put them up and with whatever headlines. So it's like, who knows?
I know there have been things that were submitted to IMDb on my quote unquote trivia that were not true that I had to. They were removed from IMDb.
Oh, really?
Right. So the things on trivia on me, they're true. They're real. Mm-hmm. Anything that's on trivia. But it was interesting to go, really? I don't have any children, but okay. Or, different things that
wow.
I'm like, oh, who submitted that? But the thing with that, it's almost like Wikipedia.
Yeah.
You cannot, IMDb is very secure in terms of movie credits. I mean, they see, you can't just be somebody's guy. No, you have to have a certain form. I mean, they are stringent. But when it comes to trivia, that's the more you really have to fight. I mean, and not even fight that. I shouldn't say that. IMDb is great about it. If you're the person, you say that's not. Boom, it's off.
Yeah.
I mean, that's no problem. It's not like Wikipedia, but yeah, that was interesting to hear something. I was like, oh, where do I live? No. I was like, well, I mean, nothing bad at all about it.
Yeah, but just completely inaccurate, like not right.
Yeah. That I was like, no. Yeah.
Wow. Somebody was bored and they're like, hey, we're just going to start filling stuff in on IMDb and see if they catch it.
Well, I think she lives in Canada. Yeah. Really? Okay. So yeah, I just try to keep that as accurate. I check my IMDb page on trivia, especially just to make sure that's accurate. But I don't do Facebook, I do Twitter. Yeah. I have my Twitter, of course.
You're awesome on Twitter. Yeah, I like to talk to you there. And
thanks. I love my Twitter. I just, I'm not adverse to Facebook at all. I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
Facebook.
Sucks you in. Yeah.
They say it sucks you in, and I'm like, oh gosh, I don't need. Yep. Twitter's hard enough.
Yeah.
So
of course, so we both love The Shining. Of course, it is so scary without being overly gory and real explicit. I mean, they're just creepy things. They're just in this huge hotel, which for most people, you look at it and you're like, that would be actually really, really cool. I would love to be in this great big fancy hotel, have the whole thing to myself. I got the run of the kitchen. I can stay in any room that I want to. I have the run of the place. But we see that maybe is not all it's cracked up to be.
Right. It's almost for every luxury there's a consequence.
Yeah.
Like, not everything is what it seems. I mean, the Overlook Hotel in The Shining, I believe the real hotel is in Oregon. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And, I mean, it was filmed in a real hotel.
Yeah.
So, but the way it kind of goes through, it's almost like this learning curve. Yes, you've got these luxuries, but you're going to pay a price for it,
mm-hmm.
And the scariest thing about it is it's so psychological. It could really happen. This happens to people.
Oh, absolutely.
Which
mm-hmm.
Eli Roth did a movie of Cabin Fever. That was the title.
Right.
Although not the same preface, but Cabin Fever happens. It's a real thing, and that's what's so scary. This could really happen.
Mm-hmm.
You take this person who's a recovering alcoholic. He's already facing his own demons internally.
Yeah.
Anytime you're getting over any kind of drug addiction, I would surmise that you would have problems with that. And then you're
mm-hmm.
locked in this isolated place with no outside communication, all but a radio with one guard.
Yeah.
And, so he's fascinating, and he's, and he plays that spinning into madness extremely well. And I think that's what scares people, is that they can see themselves in that.
Yeah,
Someone
absolutely.
going through any kind of hard time in their life, whatever it may be. It doesn't even need to be a drug addiction. It can be anything, and people can snap.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
going to trigger whatever. I mean, we all have our demons, everything. We all have our vices and the issues that we wrestle with. And when we're
Right.
put into that kind of a situation and the whole cabin fever effect starts to get to
Right.
you, it's just going to draw those problems out. And for, you know, for this guy, it was his alcoholism and his abusive kind of tendencies. And, you know, for somebody else, it could be something completely different.
Right.
But it's just these circumstances drawing that
Yeah.
out of you.
Well, and a good analogy that I just thought of, actually, because I experience this a lot. I'm sure you have too. When you're driving in your car by yourself for a long period of time, you just start to think of stuff.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, if you're not listening to the radio, and you're not thinking about anything bad or good. Your mind's just going because you're by yourself and you're driving. You're on an open road. You're just thinking. And
Yeah.
can you imagine being stuck in a place where you're isolated and all you can do is think for months and months? I mean, you know, if you have something good going on in your life, it probably wouldn't affect you. But if you're going through a hurdle or you're going through something depressing in your life, that can just spiral you down. And that's kind of the realism of The Shining. I think Stephen King delved into the psyche of the human being and said, you know, this is how people go crazy. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's very realistic, and it's a psychological thriller, and it plays on the part of you know, of everybody. So I think
Absolutely.
it's a great film.
Absolutely.
Great film.
You are dead on. That was a great insight into that. But no, that's what it is. It's all very psychological, and that's what good horror does to you. It gets into your mind, into your head, and it messes with you, and it's the kind of thing that sticks with you. And I know for me, I mean, scenes from The Shining just stick with me. And I think when you say The Shining, they're just boom, 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 bunch of images that pop into my head that just won't leave. And continue to terrify me to this day. So that's good horror.
I have to bring something up, Corey, because like you said in the beginning, this is our second take.
Yeah.
On the first take that I liked the movie The Burbs with Tom Hanks.
Oh, yeah. I wrote that down. I'm actually, we're going to watch it. We're going to watch it.
You're going to have to let me know when you and your wife see that. She's going to love that.
I will.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, that's something. That's one of those ones I remember because I think we're about the same age roughly, and I just remember going to the video store and looking at all the VHS tapes and just looking at the covers. Like the covers were always so cool. That's something I really miss nowadays. But I always remember The Burbs being one of those covers because it's Tom Hanks standing there, you know, and it's one of those ones that really sticks with you. And I'm always like, that looks really cool. But of course, it's just one of those that I never ever picked up.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. And you know, I liked Corey Feldman a lot in a lot of the '80s movies, and still to this day, I know he's really trying to his credit, get back on top of his career. He's a talented actor, very talented. I wish the best for him. I really do, because I looked up to him as an actress back in the day. I mean, I still do. I think he's great.
Mm-hmm.
He just was typecast, I believe. You know. Yeah. I believe he'll get his life back on track. But he was in The Burbs, and he was phenomenal. I mean, and with Tom Hanks, I mean, what movie with Tom Hanks do you not like?
Yeah. And I think Corey Feldman was pretty much in every movie that came out in the 80s, any horror movie that came out.
Yes, that was his genre, which I love. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, Lost Boys, I mean, he just, I mean.
Friday the 13th part, what was it, part 3 or 4 or something he was in?
Uh-huh.
And so just super cool.
Yeah, he was great.
He's got a great name too, great first name. I just have to say, that's.
Yeah. But The Burbs is great. I can't wait for you to see it. And
cool.
Tweet me. Let me know that you saw
it. Definitely. Now I have kind of an off the wall question here, kind of put you on the spot because we actually didn't do this during the first take.
Okay.
But being we're talking about Stephen King and your love of Stephen King and his books and his movies. Has there ever been a Stephen King movie that you've really been disappointed with? Maybe didn't like at all. Maybe it was a lot weaker than all the other ones.
I would have to say. Ooh, that's a good question. Stephen King movie. I'm gonna get so many people mad for this. I just know, but
I love controversy. So
it's actually not a movie. It was made into, I believe, a miniseries. Well, it was like 4 parts. It was The Stand.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, because I loved the book.
Book's awesome. Yeah.
Loved the book.
Yeah.
But and I liked they put Molly Ringwald in there, which is great. I think she's a great actress. But it had nothing to do with the actors, the actresses. It had nothing to do with the direction. It was a good, but they split this up into a little mini series. It's to me,
Didn't work.
they should no. Even if they would have condensed it into a 3-hour movie,
Yeah.
I think that would have been great. Would have been great. But the fact that they broke this up onto a made-for-TV, I was like, really? Stephen King deserves more respect than that. I mean, the carnage that was in the novel was not depicted on this show, and justifiably, because this was a network show.
Yeah.
You know, I was disappointed in that. You cannot water down a Stephen King book. You just can't.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, that book is so epic, too. I mean, it banks on the length and just the drawn-out stories that are going on there and the final meet-up at the end. I mean, it just delivers so wonderfully in that book.
Oh, the battle with evil. And I mean, it's got all the elements of a great, you know. I was a little disappointed. And just in the adaptation. Of course, not in the book. Love the book.
Yeah.
But just in the way that they did it. It should have been a movie. It should have been a feature. That's my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's totally cool. I haven't seen it for a lot of years. I do remember I did enjoy it. But again, does it hold up? Would I enjoy it now? I don't know. But for me, there actually been a couple. I've seen a lot of his movies, and I just, I look at his great movies like The Shining, Pet Sematary, Carrie, and The Dead Zone. Movies like that are so good. And it's, man, there are some movies that to me just pale in comparison to those, and so maybe it's an unfair bias that I have that I think you should.
Are you going to say It?
No, I loved it actually. I thought Tim Curry was brilliant in that in that movie. That clown, the way
Pennywise,
I still see that in my nightmares.
I know that along with the Poltergeist clown.
Yes, exactly. But I did not like Stephen King's The Langoliers, the adaptation they did of that. That was pretty.
I forgot about that one.
Crappy
Right.
with Balky from Perfect Strangers being the bad guy. It didn't work.
I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that one.
And there was another one that I was The Lawnmower Man.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now, that one was weird because that supposedly was an adaptation of one of his short stories from like Graveyard Shift or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
But it had nothing to do with that at all. Because in like Graveyard Shift, or in Graveyard Shift, The Lawnmower Man is all about this guy who is hired to come mow this guy's grass. And so the guy says, okay, go ahead, mow his grass. And the guy goes in his house, and he goes out a little bit later, and the guy has taken off all of his clothes, and he's like hovering, and he's eating the grass and doing all these weird things. And it's just like a crazy little snapshot, kind of flash little story. And The Lawnmower Man...
They extrapolated into a whole movie that was just...
It has to do with like the cyber thing with really bad 3D graphics and stuff that doesn't hold up.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that reminds me of 1408. That was in
I haven't seen that.
Oh, you haven't? With John Cusack?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you need to see that. Now, it is a good movie. However, if you read, it's a short story. The Stephen King book is called After Sunset.
Okay.
And it's a novel with like 14 of his shorts, including The Black Cat or The Cat from Hell.
Okay.
And all these different... Okay, and 1408 is one of those short stories, but it got extrapolated into this whole movie. And John Cusack does an epic job in this. Oh my gosh, it's such a great... It's almost reminiscent of The Shining. It's like one person in a hotel room. It's so good. However, it deviates so much from the short story. It doesn't deviate. It takes the short story and extrapolates into something bigger. Like it should have been a novel in itself.
Kind of adds a bunch of stuff to it. And
right. And don't get me wrong, the movie's great. I like it. But it does not mesh as much with the short story.
Yeah.
So,
John Cusack's one of my favorite actors. I mean, I love that guy. And I have a hard time believing he can screw up any role that he does. I mean, it's just that's.
And the craziest thing about 1408 is if you actually, I don't know if it's on a rental or not. I own it, but on the one that I own, the DVD, there's an alternate ending, which I'm sure it has it on the rental. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But the alternate ending is totally different, and I liked it better than the original. But it was the test audiences said that it was too depressing and too gruesome. so they changed it to the softer version. And I like the original. I mean, I'm not sadistic, but I thought that was better.
I love dark endings too. I like the thing. I don't like them walking off into the sunset and all happy and everything. You know, come on, make it interesting.
Yeah, you gone through hell and back, and you're gonna be fine. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good movie, 1408. But it disappointed me in terms of how it did not mesh with the short story. You know, in a novel, probably. And The Cat from Hell, I'm sure you remember. Was that a Tales from the Dark Side movie?
I think so. Yeah, I think.
You know what I'm talking about, right? With the old man and the black cat.
Yeah, I know. Was that Tales from the Dark Side? I'm trying to.
Or Tales from the Crypt.
Or Tales from the Crypt, maybe is what I'm thinking.
I can't remember either. I know it's one of them.
Yeah, but there's just been so many things made, so many movies made off of short stories. And am I wrong? Are they making something or planning to make a story of Under the Dome? I thought I might have read something. Because that would be really cool. I love that book.
Yeah, I own that book. I don't know. I don't know. That's the first I've heard is from you. So you may have breaking news. I don't know.
Or maybe I'm just completely making it up and wrong here, which is totally possible.
We'll have to research that and put that on here to make sure we're right, because that would be cool. I don't know. I own that book, and it's a great book.
Yeah. I could be wrong, but I thought I read somewhere that they were at least considering it, or something. Someone was maybe writing a screenplay or something.
Did you ever read the book called The Cell by Stephen King?
Yeah, that's kind of a zombie kind of book.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And there was a movie, I don't know if you've ever seen it, it's on Netflix, or it was months ago, called Pontypool.
Pontypool's awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of along the same lines, the same theme there.
Yes, and I thought that the whole time. I'm like, this is Stephen King's The Cell. Like, I kept, you know, in my mind, I was like, that is this book and this movie, you know? I wasn't sure, but
yeah, because Cell came out, I believe, before Pontypool. Now, I have to look because I know Pontypool was actually a series of books. There's like 2 or 3 books that the movie was actually based off of, and I think they're trying to do a sequel. But I have to see which came first, and if they're like, did they read Cell and kind of really like that idea and kind of take it up into Canada and this really weird isolated radio station. And, but that was a great move. I mean, Pontypool was a zombie movie. I mean, those are zombies.
Yes.
Am I right? I mean, they're a different kind of zombies because they have the whole language thing going on. But I've talked to some people and they're like, those aren't zombies. That's not a zombie movie.
Yeah, it is. They're just emulating our voices. That's all they're doing. Is emulating a human voice into whatever it is that they hear. That's a zombie. Yeah. Totally.
And it's creepy.
So, yeah, I saw that as a zombie movie. Definitely.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Oh yeah, because I'm a big. I don't know if you know this about me, but zombie movies to me are overall the most awesome kind of horror. They scare me more than any other like subgenre.
Are you more of a fast zombie or a slow zombie?
Oh, I'm totally Romero, slow.
There you go.
I'm not MTV at all. Man, that creeping death, that slow is going to get you eventually. You can run and you can hide, but you know what? It's not just going to be 1 or 2 zombies coming after you eventually. It's going to be like 1,000. And yeah, you might be able to get into the Monroeville Mall. Actually, I grew up going to the Monroeville Mall as a child.
Okay. Is that where you grew up?
Yeah. I grew up just outside of Pittsburgh, and so my parents used to take me to the Monroeville Mall. I went skating on that ice rink. And I remember those stores and just how the mall used to look. And now it's completely different because they've remodeled and changed things. But no, it's like, and it's the same kind of theme we were talking about in The Shining, as in Dawn of the Dead, where they get into this mall and it's just like anything they want at all they can have. Yeah. And but they find out it's not.
Comes at a price. At a price.
Exactly.
That's when it's too good to be true. It probably is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Totally. But those are good flicks. I mean, and the zombies, the slow zombies, you must have liked Shaun of the Dead because it gets to throw records at them.
It's awesome. That's awesome. That made my top 10 for sure.
I love Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. It did.
Stephen King himself made a review. I don't know if it's on the back of if you own Shaun of the Dead, his quote is back there saying it's one of the best movies of all time. Type thing.
Oh, yeah.
Stephen gave it 2 thumbs up, I'm sure Mr. King was thinking, I should have written this.
Yep. Oh yeah, but that was brilliant. It's hard to do a really, really good zombie comedy, but I think Shaun of the Dead did it perfectly. And it was just so brilliant. And I love British horror in general. You know, I'm a big Monty Python kind of guy and stuff like that. So I appreciate that, and I love their nuances and their brand of humor. And especially when you weave it into a great zombie film, because the zombies look cool and gruesome, and there's a good bit of violence and shocking scenes in there. And so totally cool. But awesome. Well, Priscilla, this was fantastic again talking tonight. And anytime at all. I had a blast. Oh, awesome. Well, people can get a hold of you on Twitter. You got an IMDb page, and we're going to be putting all these links up. Of course, the trailer to El Cucuy and anything else. Bad Kids Go to Hell. So and
I now have a fan site email address that I'm created on my Gmail. So because I still use AOL for my personal, it's so weird. I know. I really think there's probably 5 executives at AOL just praying I'm going to get off it so they can retire. So I created it. Oh, that's funny. But I respond to those emails as well. So So I'll have my Gmail, my Twitter, and the 2 trailers for Bad Kids Go to Hell and El Cucuy. And so I'm excited. They should be coming out soon.
Beautiful. Well, I look forward to keeping up with you and finding out when everything is coming out, and of course how all the festivals go for you. And
yes, I'm so excited to be in LA in a couple months, and it's going to be great. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Well, good luck to you, Priscilla. Again, thank you for talking with me tonight. It's been a blast, and let's do this again soon.
Anytime.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night.